All right, so one of the concepts I've been building for the last few months is the idea, I call it enriching the experience, or the religious experience, enriching the religious experience or the meditation experience. When I use the term religious experience, I'm using it as a synonym for the meditation experience. And the only reason why I use that term religious experience is because there's so much literature out there using that terminology that I really believe we need to use that terminology to dovetail into what's already been said. And to me, I'm using the religious experience as a synonym for samadhi, for the eightfold of the Noble Eightfold Path. So anyway, so we rigorous contemplatives find all these weird things happening in our meditation, right? And we go to our meditation teacher, and he or she says, "Oh, just ignore that." Right? Well, we discovered, the handful of us have discovered that if you don't ignore it, it gets even better, right?
Right.
So, but still, it's nothing more than a bunch of tingles and twitches and odd sounds. And if we don't enrich that experience, that's all it's ever going to be, is just some weird phenomenon. Whereas if we read Acts, particularly in the Gospels,
Second chapter.
Right, second chapter of Acts, they talk about all these phenomena of manifestations of the Holy Spirit. And not all, but quite a bit of that is what we experience every day in our meditation practices. But what they did is they enriched the experience by looking at it as the Holy Spirit. So I believe that we can enrich our meditation experience by, instead of taking the atheistic point of view, we ascribe the divinity to that experience, that that we are now in communion with the sacred. And so when all those and the sacred is communicating to us through all that strange phenomena. So we're not hearing a deep voice coming from the clouds, "Jeffrey, go forth and teach," right? We don't hear that.
I keep waiting.
You know what? I think I've heard lots of voices. The problem is, if I followed all those voices, I would have been in jail a long time ago.
A padded room somewhere.
Something. I think that as long as we attempt to interpret the experience in human terms, like voices, we're not getting it.
Right.
Whereas the more non-objective I make that experience and just allow it to be raw sensation, the more I get out of the experience. But nonetheless, it helps me to think of it as the Holy Spirit is in communion with me in the very moment. And I believe that this is what Jesus meant when he spoke of himself being a Messiah. Messiah means anointed with oil, literally, and so does Christ. But what did that mean? And that meant that the people were choosing a leader, and they would anoint the head of this person with oil ceremonially, and that meant we choose you as our leader. So, whereas I think Jesus was using that terminology in the sense that we are anointed by the Holy Spirit, or we're chosen by the Holy Spirit when we manifest these charisms. So everybody who manifests these charisms when they're meditating is anointed by the Holy Spirit, i.e., there's many messiahs on this bus, not just one.
Yeah.
Right? And everybody who experiences one or more of the 8 stages of the religious experience is manifesting these charisms, and therefore they are directly experiencing the Holy Spirit. And so I believe if we bring that awareness to that experience, so that we really feel ineffable, because this is an ineffable experience, we're actually feeling the sacred in the same way the mystics of the past, like Jesus, Moses, and the Buddha, they experienced the same thing we are experiencing. And therefore, as we lose ourselves into that experience, we are being transformed into the Buddha, Messiah, Avatar, whatever.
St. John of the Cross,
Right.
Teresa of Avila.
Right, right. To me, Teresa of Avila
Yeah.
was as much a Buddha as Siddhartha Gautama was.
I guess I just want to affirm, yes, the becoming the ineffable.
Yeah, I'm ready to do it.
Yeah.
Become the that's right. Yeah.
Let us become the ineffable.
Yes. 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 Exactly.
Well, I think, right, I think maybe as we, lose ourselves into that, then we become the ineffable. That's what it sounds like you're saying, and I think, and I affirm that.
And it's making me think of, in the autobiography, spiritual bio that I put on the website, I talk about an early life experience that I had.
Okay.
And, I'm come from a lineage of charismatic Pentecostal preachers. My father's father, his father, uncles, on both sides, going way back. So I, at an early age, was hit with all that. And at an early age, when you're a kid, you hear this stuff and there's no filter. There's no, oh, that can't be, or that's symbolic, or whatever.
You take it on face value.
You do.
Right.
And it became a living experience for me. And now I know, all these years later, that what I took as the person of Jesus Christ coming in the form of spirit, but to me was a manifest being, took me into the Arupa realms, into the non-material realms, and I learned a lot of stuff, at a very early age. And then I was cast off into the wilderness to experience what was going on here. But this idea of being infused by the Spirit has been with me all my life. And being forced to go to church for 3 times a week for 19 years, over and over I would complain, where is the experience? Where you keep reading this stuff, you keep preaching this stuff, where is it? And nobody ever answered, Nobody wanted anything to... But it's a living experience.
Right.
And now I know every religion started with that living experience.
Right.
And it's what you're talking about. It's a religious experience without the trappings that the priesthood laid on it later.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And those trappings, I think, work to insulate the individual from the sacred. And I think part of the reason why is it's bad for the business of religion if it's accessible to everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can't have everybody having deeper experiences than the priesthood.
Right.
Then they become irrelevant.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the Great Western Vehicle is all about, let's all be messiahs on this bus, or let's all be Buddhas on this bus.
Yeah. 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 I'll meet you there.
All right. There you go.
I mean, in that experience, at the very end of it, I was told, in 30 years, we'll be back. It was plural. And almost right on the button, these experiences started coming. I met you then. And slowly but surely, Jeffrey came into my life, and I've met through him other people, and I feel like you know, in some weird way, things are right on schedule. You know? Yeah.
Very good. Well, you know, coming from that Pentecostal journey, it just so happens I know of quite a few ex-Pentecostal ministers who became contemplatives. And I just keep thinking that there must be some way to bring that contemplative movement to the Pentecostal movement. Maybe you're the one to do that.
There especially if you do it in the right way.
Right.
You know, because they have the whole fear of everlasting hell paradigm that's very strong, but they're also all about the experience of, you know, baptism in the Spirit and the Spirit in the fire, the Spirit in the water, and there's a terminology that I still haven't grasped that is virtually the same as what we've been talking about, and you know, for all their faults, they are about the experience. You know?
Well, that might be your journey.
Oh boy. No. I ran so hard away from it, you know.
Right.
And then there it is.
Right. Looking at you in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.